Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. Lord Nicholas Stern, Co-Chair, Global Commission on Economy and Climate. Ms. Naina Lal Kidwai, Global Commissioner, NCE, Chair, India Sanitation Coalition, and Chair, Sustainability Council at FICCI. Dr. Ishar Ahluwalia, who would be joining us, Chair of ICRIER, who will be joining us in a bit, and Mr. Neeraj Mandloy, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Urban Development, and distinguished speakers who are sitting here on my left, and guests. On behalf of ICRIER, WRI, and NCE, it is indeed a delight to welcome you all to the launch of our report, Better Cities, Better Growth, India's Urban Opportunity. The report has been prepared by ICRIER, the WRI Ross Center for Sustainable Cities, the New Climate Economy, NCE, which is the flagship project of the Global Commission on the Economy and Climate, and the Coalition for Urban Transitions, an NCE special initiative. Other partners in this exercise included University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and the Global Spatial Research Program on Spatial Development of Cities at the World Bank. Several people, and I'm going to name just one, but there are several people who've been associated with this report. Professor Meenu Tiwari, who's led this report, is not here, but joins us in spirit from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. But there are several other people who have been associated with this report and several institutions. So we are deeply indebted to all of them for the painstaking effort. And I must say it has been an incredible journey for ICRIER and the other institutions, an incredible journey of learning, collaboration, scholarship, and occasional pain. Pain, especially with respect to data collection. But as we know, that without pain, there is no gain. The gain is in the form of a very high quality report, even if I'm saying it myself, it's in the form of a very high quality report that the first time in India uses Nightlight's data for the post-reform period in India to analyze economic performance across different districts. There are insights that will benefit policymakers, not only in India, but I think in all emerging economies that are undergoing urban transformation. The report will also be an invaluable reference to scholars working in the area of urbanization. This report, as I said, uses a combination of nighttime lights data over the period 92 to 2013 with census, environmental, and other economic information to analyze using a range of econometric techniques to better understand the relationship between urbanization and economic development in India. The main findings will be discussed in the technical session that will follow. But what basically emerges from this report is that there has been a broad improvement in real incomes in districts in the recent decades. But there is some heterogeneity in the spatial patterns. There is also evidence of convergence in incomes across Indian states, across districts, across cities, although the pace of that convergence varies and has shown signs of decline in the early decades of 2000, in the early decade of 2000. Interestingly, for the first time, there is robust evidence linking compactness with better economic performance. This suggests that more compact urbanization, when it occurs, where it occurs, will support faster economic growth. And finally, there is also an intuitive and appealing evidence that shows that districts that enjoy better market access and better connectivity perform better than others. The macro results in the report that, as I said, you will see during the technical session, are complemented by case studies of 4 Indian cities, Bangalore, Indore, Pune, and Surat, where we estimate the total cost of provision for water supply and sanitation, transportation, and energy. The full cost of service provision is one that accounts for all supply costs, including the externalities and opportunity costs. For the first time, I think, there has been an attempt to estimate the total cost of provisioning, whether it is supplied by the state, whether it is supplied by the private sector, or whether it's provisioned by self. The short point is that deficits in basic urban services push households to undertake costly forms of self-provisioning in which services are provided by urban residents rather than by the state. So you'll see all of this in the report, in the technical session that we will discuss the report in. But for me, for ICRIER, for all the institutions that have participated in this exciting study, it's exciting because it breaks new ground, and I compliment all the researchers and institutions that have been involved in it. It's truly been a very collaborative effort, and I must thank, among all the other institutions, NCE and WRI for their constant support in this engagement. At ICRIER, we are proud to have the opportunity to have worked on this and built on the earlier work that was led by our chairperson, who will join us shortly. She's been working on urbanization for several years, and we built on that work, and she's worked on this in this area of urbanization with ICRIER and continues to do so in an honorary capacity. I would request all of you to please visit our website to see the work on urbanization that we are doing, and it will give you a peek into the other work that ICRIER does. So without taking too much of your time, I thank you all once again for being here, and I wish you all a very productive workshop and seminar. May I request now Naina Lalkidwai to make the introductory remarks. Thank you, Naina.
Let me start by welcoming all of you here and to state that I'm absolutely delighted to be here today along with my old friend and fellow Global Commissioner, Lord Nicholas Stern. Isher, of course, to join us shortly, and Neeraj Mandloy, Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Urban Development. Now, before I turn to Mr. Mandloy, allow me to introduce very briefly the Global Commission on Economy and Climate, which is the capacity in which I'm here today. It's a commission of 26 former heads of state, finance ministers, mayors, and business leaders. And our flagship project, the New Climate Economy, was set up to help governments, businesses, and society make better informed decisions on how to achieve economic prosperity and development while also addressing climate change. And I do believe we have taken the discourse away from how one is not necessarily in tune with the other and does not necessarily enable growth if we take strong action against climate change, but has very well argued and demonstrated how the two actually work hand in hand in terms of economic growth while containing the damage in climate change. The NCE family includes Coalition for Urban Transitions, which is a new special initiative of the New Climate Economy. It's made up of over 20 leading institutions across 5 continents who share a common purpose. And the purpose is to work with decision makers to deliver a better urban future for a common purpose. And in enabling this work, we work with a number of research institutions globally, of which ICRIER is the leading India partner. Last year, the New Climate Economy released an in-depth study on India, which looked at pathways for sustaining better development in our energy systems, our cities, and in land use. More recently, we released the Sustainable Infrastructure Imperative, which examines globally how we should finance the transition to a low-carbon future. In the next 15 years, and many of you well know this, the world is likely to invest $90 trillion in infrastructure, more than our entire current stock. These investments can mirror the dirty, dangerous, and unsustainable infrastructure of the past, or set global development on a cleaner, and more efficient path for decades to come. The Global South will account for roughly two-thirds of global infrastructure investment. So this offers a great opportunity for us in countries such as India to demonstrate leadership and leapfrog the inefficient, sprawling and polluting systems of the past. One of the ways in which this better development can take shape, especially here in India, is in how we build, plan and live in our cities. The report that will be presented today demonstrates how important it will be for India to embrace and shape the pathway of urbanization over the coming decades as a key mechanism for improved economic, social and environmental prosperity. The time is right for change. What better than to make the huge issue where citizens have got engaged in terms of the quality of our air. And it is absolutely at points such as this that we can grab the opportunity to institutionalize and implement right behavior and change. So let's not lose this opportunity. And the best part is that building our cities better does not need to involve trade-offs between economic growth, poverty reduction, and reducing the impact on the environment. We can and should have all three. So please let me welcome now Mr. Neeraj Mandloy on the efforts, and there are several in this direction being made by the government to deliver a better urban future.
A very good evening to the distinguished audience here. The subject of this workshop is really what urban development is all about. Better cities, better growth, India's urban opportunity. The Urban Development Ministry used to focus on what can be done to support cities. But now, instead of project-based or program-based approach, what the government is doing is viewing the urbanization as an opportunity and trying to move towards ways, designing ways which would help our cities to capture this momentous occasion. I speak on behalf of the entire ministry and the government before this August forum. In my individual capacity, I represent the mission director of the 15 billion water and sanitation project, the program of the government, which is called Amrit. And Amrit in English would be translated into a drop of nectar, which would be the eternal bliss for quality of life. So the keynote address, as the program mentions, has to cover the government's view, vision and efforts. And in the next 10 minutes, I would try to give a very brief glimpse of how the government is approaching towards this challenge. The urban situation in India is challenging, to say the least. It is also extremely diverse and complex, and I'm sure everyone present here is fully conversant with its various dimensions. The complex interplay of issues related to governance and capacities, the devolution of powers, the fragmented power structure and finances, a very precarious state. I would like to share with you very briefly the recent developments and the emerging scenario. There is on one hand the formidable task of providing the very basic municipal services in 4,000 existing towns, which have on an average very limited access to drinking water and sanitation, the even basic services. Many of these cities dump their waste into streams and drains